Hi, Tammy. Hope you're well.
Hello, Sid. I am very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, and I'm looking forward to today's topic, which is more of an extension of last week, if I'm correct.
Yes. Oops, sorry. Yes, that's very much of an extension of last week. You're correct.
Yeah, it's very fascinating, especially on the love, attachment, and chemistry. So to begin with you, Tammy, is many people say, I know I found the one because the chemistry was incredible. Is chemistry the same thing as love?
Not necessarily. Chemistry is often like an immediate, it's immediate and it's emotional. I would say love more develops over time.
Yeah.
And whereas chemistry can make you feel excited, like totally obsessed with like intensely obsessed with somebody, but love grows through trust, through consistency, I would say respect as well, and also I would say emotional safety, in South Africa I would say a lot of people balance family expectations, cultural traditions, financial pressures, and I would also say a bit of modern living or modern dating, I would say. But it's important to understand that, um, you know, it's not something that is automatic. A healthy love comes out of a healthy relationship, and people often, sometimes you have something, some people say love at first sight, but when you get to know the person better, it's like, oh my god, what was I thinking of? It's that kind of thing. So you need to assess, and each person is different. Yes, there's been some cases where people meet and immediately feel that immense connection, and they do work it out for years on end. Whereas, on the other hand, people go through the same thing and then they realize 2 to 3 months or 2 to 3 years down the line, gosh, this is not for me. Have I made a mistake? So you do get that. And I think each case is different.
That's true. But would you say love at first sight is maybe like a fanciful thing, or do you think there's, on the odd occasion, merit to it?
Each person, each case, I would say, is different. So yes, as I said, I've come across cases where it was love at first sight. Some people go into university, meet somebody and say, oh wow, this is my person. And years down the line, I mean, you hear of cases. I read an article, I think last month, where this war veteran, he spoke about his wife, and he went off to war, and she was, like the tellers that actually clock your card in or something. She was one of those people, and he said, I'm coming back for you, and she was so thrilled by this. And it was love at first sight. And years down the line, they got married. They even moved into a retirement home together. So each case is different. There's no cookie cutter approach to love, to dating, to chemistry, anything between two people. There is no cookie cutter approach.
Awesome. All right. Here's a comment here from Reshchitan already. Hi, Tammy. In my opinion, love is emotional and realistic, whilst chemistry is just something you have common with a person where people can liaise on the same level, but love is different from chemistry. Oh, but-
Thank you, Wesh, for that question or that comment. Yes, you
yeah,
very, but I would say yes and no. Love is something where you have, or chemistry is something where you do have a common spark with the person. Say, for example, you go to I don't know, maybe a club or a bar or something, and you see somebody there, and immediately you have that spark with them. So yes, it can develop from there. And as I say, no two relationships are the same.
that's true.
Sometimes love can develop from that, where you see, okay, immediately you have the chemistry, you have that magnetism to the person. And from that you can develop love. And love sometimes, I mean, especially with the Hindu culture way back when, we did not, or not we, but our ancestors did not have a choice. Their parents chose their partners for them. And you had to, no matter what the person looked like, what profession they were in, you had to learn to love the person. And yes, in some cases like that, you you tend to live with the person and you become familiar with the person, and you're almost forced to be with that person. Whereas now, in our day and age, a lot of people say, I don't like this. This is not for me. And they step back and they step away from things. You also, if you look at people now around us, how many people do you know that are in their 40s and their 50s, late 30s, that are not married? They don't want to settle down because they don't find that chemistry with somebody. They don't find the love bond. They don't see that, okay, I can grow old with this person. And I find it very common these days where you find a lot of people that have put their careers first. They're in their own apartments, they've got everything going for them, and now for somebody to come into their space, it's almost like an uncomfortable feeling. It's like you don't want to share your space with somebody. You don't want to come to that compromise of saying, oh, he leaves the toilet seat up, or he leaves his socks on the floor, or she leaves the hairbrush with full of hair. People not wanting to go through that compromise to live with somebody, and therefore you get so many people that just choose to live alone.
True. What's the difference between love, attachment, and chemistry?
So chemistry, I would say, is that spark.
Mm,
It's like that oh wow moment, that initial moment. And attachment, I would say, is more the bond,
mm,
the bond between two people. And whereas love is the conscious choice and commitment to care for somebody in a healthy way. You can have chemistry without love. I'm sure you can. You can have attachment without love. You can have, there's so many people that mistake
mm,
attachment or chemistry because of their love feeling is so intense. So love, I would say, tends to bring peace and security to a
mm,
relationship, whereas often attachment brings fear of loss. you know
mm,
and chemistry brings in that excitement and that anticipation. When if I could describe chemistry to you, it's like that initial moment and you get that little pitter patter of the heart. That
mm.
I would describe as chemistry.
Yeah. But in a nutshell, could you say that love is selfless, whilst attachment could be not as selfless because you're kind of so used to something you just want to have it at all costs, whilst chemistry is more natural. I don't know if that makes sense to you.
Yes, you tend to, when it comes to love as well, people tend to hold on, and it's a very
Mm,
fine line to have. With love and with attachment, you find people, especially where relationships break up, people,
mm,
they they're attached not to the love aspect, they're attached to the person and what that person gives to them. It's like, okay, I'm married to a billionaire. He gives me the Ferrari, he gives me the mansion, he gives me the big rock on my finger. Take away that, will you survive? Or are you
mm.
fixated on the labeling of that?
Yeah.
So that's the attachment. If you can break away from the attachment of that and say, okay, this person, take away his millions, take away the Ferrari, take away the mansion, will you still love him for who he is or who she is? That's true love. That, I
Mm,
would say, is true love. You see, to people, when you say you love them, you go through the thick and thin with them. You
mm.
go through the ups and downs. Even with marriage, you say, you marry for better or for worse. You tend
Mm.
to work things out with people. But
That's true.
with that being said as well, you say you marry for better or for worse, but then again, in my example, where being married to a narcissistic sociopath, your life, is questionable, where
Mm.
you're thinking, what am I doing wrong? Where did I go wrong? And whereas, you feeling that the only way out is maybe murder or death, suicide, whatever it is, and that's what my book Siors is about, where I chose divorce over murder and suicide.
Why do people confuse intense attraction with love?
I would say the intense attraction feels maybe meaningful, makes you feel good. If someone makes, as I said, that pitter patter makes your heart race, keeps you guessing, or triggers like, some emotions in you, can that can be interpreted as love. But sometimes it's actually more, I would say, anxiety,
Mm.
and, uncertainty of emotional unresolved patterns, like old patterns. So many people grew up believing that love should be dramatic. Healthy love is much more calmer, and it's not like what the movies teach us. It's, not always sunshine and roses and champagne. Love and any relationship is something, it's like a job. You've got to work at it.
Can chemistry ever be a red flag?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If the attraction is so overwhelming, you
Mm.
can ignore your values, you can ignore your morals, your teachings. You dismiss all the warning signs that you've grown up with. So I would say if you have the chemistry maybe pulling you away from your well-being rather than towards it. So how often we bend our boundaries, we break the barriers when it comes to that intense chemistry. So a powerful connection is not automatically a healthy connection. A powerful connection does need work. So a lot of the times, you would find, especially like in the Indian community, in the Indian culture, where you would find the within the umbrella of Hinduism, where you would get like the Tamil, the Telugu, the Gujarati, the Hindi, etc., where people actually break down those barriers, where they have that intense attraction, and they tend to forego those teachings where that chemistry is so strong, and you get to a stage where people are more on an understanding ground. And I know of a lot of couples where um, I know of two very close people to me, where the one partner is Catholic and the other one is Hindu, but they respect each other's homes,
Belief.
teachings,
Okay.
beliefs. Yes. And me, for example, a typical example of me, my husband is Islamic. I grew up in a Hindu home, but when it comes to Ramadan, I do all the practices, the Islamic practices of the fasting, and having the houses in a Ramadan conducive environment. It's more, I would say, respect. You have to have the respect each other's beliefs, respect each other's cultures. Also understand something: when you marry somebody cross culture, that person doesn't know your your way, that person
Mm.
doesn't know your religious beliefs. It's an educational on both sides, and you should not force somebody to do something beyond their boundaries. Remember, if you grew up in a certain way, and now I go and tell you, now if once a month we need to go to the Swiss Alps and go and do a meditation there, you're like, really? So I know a lot of people that some of their religious beliefs, they actually put their bodies at risk of, like going and uh, climbing the Mount Kailash, and doing sort of those things. It all comes down to an understanding and a respect. If you are willing to do certain things and you know your boundaries, that would stem, or that would be a foundation for a healthy relationship.
That's true. What are some red flags people often mistake for passion?
Ooh, some of the red flags I would say, extreme jealousy.
Mm,
Extreme jealousy is often mistaken for caring. You
yeah.
know, like if you're in a partnership and or in a relationship, you go every Saturday to go wash your car at the local car wash, and you know, or your partner knows, it takes about 15 to 20 minutes, but here is 18 minutes gone and she's phoning you, where are you, it takes you that long to go there, you should be back by now, not considering that, whatever else could be wrong. Maybe traffic lights are out, especially in South Africa, with the electricity not working all the time. You get the traffic lights that are out. Something could have delayed you. So
Mm,
that often, I would say, jealousy is more mistaken for caring, where she's
mm,
probably thinking, oh, did he go and see somebody else? Why is he taking so long? That kind of thing. So that stems from, I would say, jealousy. Also possessiveness,
mm,
where it's how often when you introducing your partner, you would say my girlfriend, my wife, we'd label my, you know
mm,
um, the I actually heard on the radio this morning where the one DJ, she got married, and one of the others asked her, "Oh, did you not change your surname?" And she said, no, she's from the Islamic culture. She's Lebanese. And she said, no, we keep our surnames, we keep our names. It's a choice that you make. So you don't have to, go through a whole identity, I would say, revolution or change just to satisfy other people or to become accepted in somebody's family. Each person has their own identity, and the respect needs to be there on both parties. Other things I would say, constant emotional highs and lows are often mistaken for excitement. It's like you have a biker for a partner, going out on these thrill rides, and that's you, the adrenaline junkie that thrives on these things. But is there proper love in the home? These are the kind of things that you gotta weigh up, assess, am I in the right relationship? What It's a give and take as well.
mm,
So, and also, sometimes, strange enough, where you have a healthy sex life, right? It's like your partner satisfies you in every way, but there's no real love to that relationship. You are just there because, crudely saying it, you're being serviced in the proper way. So a lot of people stay in
mm,
unhealthy relationships because of certain need being met,
mm,
certain need being fulfilled. So a lot of the time when I'm counseling somebody, I would find, I would ask the questions. And like I mentioned in 2 sessions back, where I said, any couple that I counsel or I coach, I tell them to do the 5 love language test. And that is so
mm,
important to know what makes your partner tick and work from that basis. Another thing is the where you're needing constant reassurance, and it's a mistakenness for closeness.
mm,
So if you look at me, I'm a very fluffy person. I love hugs, I love cuddles, and whereas my husband is not like that. But it's a communication. So sometimes if I had like a stressful call, if a stressful client, I would say, I really need some cuddles. And I would go and cuddle, and he would understand because he knows it's not something that I'm doing 24/7.
mm.
It's I just need certain, it's not so much, okay, I'm at a different maturity level. It's not so much reassurance, but sometimes a hug, just a
Yeah,
simple
yeah.
hug,
Mm.
is so meaningful. You know,
Yeah.
even you with your partner, she comes home from work, just a hug. She doesn't need to say anything that she's had a bad day or whatever it is. Just a simple hug. Just it just gives you that sense of that woosa feeling, you know. So yes, I would say so. If a relationship feels like an emotional roller coaster every day, it's not usually passion. It's often a sign of instability. So assess what makes you tick, why it makes you tick, what attracts you in the opposite person. Why did you fall in love with your partner in the first place? And as I said, a relationship is like a job. You need to, a lot of people just take things for granted. Constantly assess, where are you at? Do things differently. Try things different.
Never heard of that word. You just use it. Rusa.
Wusa, like in the cartoons. So you wusa,
Wow.
you it's stress free.
Wow, I learned something new. Thanks for that. How can someone tell whether they're experiencing chemistry or emotional addiction?
So I would say ask yourself the question: do I feel peaceful when I'm with this person,
Mm,
or am I consciously anxious? I know I've been, I chat to people, and sometimes it's like I'm on edge, you know. I've got to, um, you should be the same person. I always say, be like a chameleon, be true to your core, but adapt to your surroundings, you know, like a chameleon does. It would change its colors to suit the surrounding, but it doesn't change itself. You got to be the same person all the time. Ask yourself, you know, am I putting on a false front to be with this person? Am I putting on an act to make this person like me? So those are the kind of triggers that you need to be aware of or need to be cautious about. Also ask yourself, am I getting to know who they really are, or am I obsessed with how they make me feel? I know, especially with females, they're very, very good with their MI6 skills, going and digging up details of the person, and find out. There's so many dating sites that I wasn't aware of the amount of dating sites that there are, but there's lots of dating sites where people come on there and they're actually married. They're married, but they're on these dating sites. So go and do, before you go on and fall in love with this person
mm,
and confess your deepest, darkest secrets and your heart's desires. Go and check the person out.
mm,
Check the person out, and don't be fooled
mm,
that this person is, you know, he's making you feel like a queen. But look at the red flags.
mm,
Look at the red flags. I was counseling somebody in Durban, and she was on a dating site, and she was talking to a guy who, I think it's like an hour out of Durban. I forget the name. I'm not sure if it was Stanger or Richards Bay, but one of the places that's like an hour out of Durban. And she was dating this or talking to this guy for about 4 months. And every time they wanted to meet, he would give some sort of excuse that there's something wrong with his car, or he needs to take his mother out, or something to that effect. And so she contacted me and she said, you know, I chat to this person, we video call each other every night. I've really created a bond with this person. What are your feelings? So there were certain red flags that I pointed out to her that she told me. And I made notes of this and I said, one, two, three. Each one I gave her and I said, why? An hour out of Durban is not an hour's flight, it's an hour's drive. If somebody was serious about you, they'll make the attempt. And you know, I do the tarot, and I pulled out the tarot, and she says, I need a reading. So I did the tarot, and while I was doing the tarot, I got the message to say, there's something not kosher about this guy. And lo and behold, when I told her, I said, like I always say, even in my book, put on your big girl panties and you need to deal with the issue. And so she confronted him on a lot of the things, and only to find out that this man was still married, and he had his mother living with him, and he wasn't working. He was
Hmm.
living off the wife. The wife was a nurse or something of the sort. So the wife worked shifts. So therefore, they only had one vehicle. He couldn't take the car to go and see her. So, and she said to me, she says, I'm so grateful that I did not meet up with him to fall in love. This was just a purely relationship on the telephone. So I didn't go to that extent. So I would say know your boundaries. Healthy attraction does expand life, but emotional addiction often consumes it. So know what are your triggers, why they make you trigger. Is the person fulfilling something that you're missing or that you're lacking, or are they genuine? So there's a lot of questions you need to ask yourself.
What does unhealthy attachment look like?
Ooh, um, I would say, like I mentioned last week, where somebody says, this person completes me. Like,
Mm.
sweetheart, you ain't broken. How can they be complete? You know? Look at, ask questions. Question. Where people say, oh, I can't be happy without them. They're my world. I don't know who I am without this relationship. I'd rather stay unhappy than be alone. Those kind of things where people are fixated on the labeling, as I said. Also, coming back to the Indian community, that's like my comfort zone of where I speak from, and I've seen a lot of the clients that in this um, genre where they talk a color, and the old grandparents, they would say, oh, she's pretty, she's fair, and it was a lot of thing about color, where the person needs to be of fair skin, especially where the one partner is of dark skin and the other one is of light skin, or pretty or handsome, whatever it is. It's like, they are making me feel good. So you fixated on something that's false. You fixated on their looks complimenting you rather than a healthy relationship. So the relationship becomes a source of identity rather a part of your life.
That's true. What does genuine love sound like? Sorry.
So each person on their own, and each person's idea of love is very different. So I would say, you ask, I would choose you because I don't need to lose myself to keep you. You need to be the same person, whether you're going out to the movies or whether you're going out to a candlelit dinner or walking on the beach. You need to be the same person, true to your core. Respect yourself. That is one of the most important things that I can tell anybody. You respect yourself and your boundaries. And also, that person can trust you, or you can trust that person without controlling you. Where you are like in anxious, oh, I've got to do this at certain time or he's going to get cross. I've got to do this for her or she's going to get cross. I've got to get home because she's going to get cross
Yeah.
about, and I find a lot of people are like control freaks, where they get so fixated on where their person is. I go out with my girlfriends, I have my me time. My husband is the same. He's got his set days where he goes to the coffee shop with his friends. I know he's there. It's a trust. It boils down to trust, and be open with your communication. I know I was actually horrified to know there's I don't even know how this works, but there's an app where I think you track your phone, or you track where you can track I think it's called 360,
Hmm.
where you track your partner.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, why would you want to be like any private investigator to be tracking your partner? What warrants that? Surely it stems from something igniting this to say, okay, it's a trust issue, or why would you want to track your husband or your wife? If my husband had to do that to me, it was like,
Hmm.
jeepers, that would be really, really creepy. And I wouldn't want
Yeah.
to do him either. And every time I think you go to a different place, like if you in one place and then you go to a different place, I think your phone beeps. Or and I thought,
Hmm.
gosh, my husband's a smoker. So every time he's going outside and coming back in, my phone would be beeping. I wouldn't want that, you know? So why do you want to have those, to be, like so fixated on your person's whereabouts? Give the person a chance to breathe. When you hold something too tightly, that's when you lose it. So you need to have that respect and that trust. And that's where you need to support each other's growth. Like if your partner wants to go and study something, or your partner wants to loves F1 racing, and that's been their dream all the time. If money is an issue, or maybe surprise them, buy them, save up, surprise them with an F1 ticket for one of the birthdays. It comes to loving and allowing them their freedom. And the attachment often makes you more like a control freak and less driven by fear. So you need to detach from certain things and know your freedom, know your boundaries, and question everything.
Yeah. But what do you say to those people that say that they only do these tracking devices more out of safety, not because they don't trust them?
Well, a safety thing is something different. Yes, that was brought up as well, where the one partner had, I forget, MS. The one partner had MS, and they had the issue of, they could fall asleep behind the steering. So the wife actually put on whatever app it is to track for that reason. So if it is healthy
Hmm.
and it's not intrusive, where you're questioning, oh, if you were supposed to go to, I don't know, change your tires or wash the car, why did you go to this place, or why did you go to the bar, or, that kind of minute tracking, then it becomes unhealthy. But if it's for safety and security, I would say please go ahead. I know there's another family that I was introduced to. It was the husband, the wife, the two children, and I think it was the granny as well. So they had a family unit. So the reason for that is the granny traveled around the area, the father and the mother. So whoever was closest to one of the children's school would say, okay, I'm here, I will fetch the children. It's around about 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, I will fetch the children. And it was more of a safety aspect rather than controlling to find out who's where. And they only used it for that reason. When the kids were on holiday, that app wasn't even looked at. So if it's doing it for a healthy safety security, go ahead and do it.
Awesome. Can someone love another person deeply and still leave the relationship?
Yes, I would say, one of the most mature lessons in a relationship is that love alone is not enough.
Hmm.
The person might be your safety haven, your safe place. You can love someone and recognize that the relationship is unhealthy, or no longer aligned with your values. Sometimes leaving is, I would say, it's an act of self-respect, than rather an act of lack of love. So respect strongly. That's like top tier on my charts. You've got to respect the person.
True. Lastly, if listeners remember only one thing from today's conversation, what should it be?
Hmm. Okay, so I would say not every strong feeling is a sign to move forward. You know, live with the person, get to know them before you make a major commitment. The other thing is sometimes what you feel feels like love, um, is not. It could be more attachment. Attachment, as I said, to you fixated on labels. You know, what's he driving? What's she wearing? What that or um, the beauty of a person. Um, Sometimes what feels like destiny, it's probably chemistry. I would say real love isn't measured by how intensely someone makes you feel. It's measured by how safely and authentically, and I would say consistency is a big thing. Consistently, you can grow together. And the other thing I would say is the healthiest relationships don't just steal your breath, but it gives you room to breathe. So don't lose your identity when you are in a relationship. Stay true to yourself. Be the chameleon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time, Tammy, and I'll check you again next week.
Absolutely. Love and light to all the listeners and the viewers. We shall meet each other again next week.
Awesome.